Good evening. It is 7:33 p.m. Welcome to the regular session of the College Park Mayor and City Council. I am Mayor Bianca Motley Broom, and I'm calling the meeting to order at this time as we do have a quorum. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1B is our invocation. It will be led by Chaplain Alexander this evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and once again,
Councilman.
Chaplain Alexander, we're having a lot of time. We're having a lot of trouble understanding.
We come tonight praying for our city, College Park. Tonight praying for them to be our body. I pray tonight for our. I can't. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, because it was so I will start over.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Councilman. May we pray, please. Once again, we come tonight, Father, in your name. We come, Father, tonight praying for our city, our state, and for our nation as a whole. I come tonight praying, Father, for unity, wisdom to be upon this governing body and all the employees and citizens of this great city. I pray tonight, Father, for our law enforcement, for our firefighters and the city staff, that they return home each night as they protect our city and work in our city. I also pray, Father, that we go through tonight's agenda, that wisdom and understanding will be upon our city leaders and the staff to make the right decisions concerning this city. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Item 2 is additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I have two I'd like to propose, please.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. First of all, to table item 8B, which is the Motorola contract, there's some fine tuning we need to address with that particular contract. We'd like to bring it back on September 21st, as opposed to taking any consideration this evening.
Okay.
The second item would be to add under unfinished old business, the strategic plan direction as outlined during the workshop meeting.
All right. So that would be item
9B.
9B. Okay. Great.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Anyone have a motion for those changes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard two. Okay, there's three. All right, there we go. Thank you, gentlemen. That's unanimous. Item 3A is approval of the regular session minutes dated August 17th, 2020.
I move to approve the regular session with discussion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Councilman Clay, the floor is yours.
On packet page 7, at the bottom, line 137, item B, College Park Municipal Golf Course carts and the Yamaha lease agreement. There was some discussion. I brought up a point about taking the carts off the golf course that was in the contract. And I think it was decided that we should consult with Yamaha because there were reasons why we should take the cart off. We take the carts off for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that that be recorded in the minutes, and it's not there.
All right, so how would you like to handle it?
Councilman Clay, if I may, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Linda, and I sent Councilman Clay an email on Sunday, August 30th, to try to have clarification on this item. The discussion that you referred to, Councilman Clay, on the golf course, special uses, was dealt with during the workshop session under item 3. And those concerns you had are listed in item 3, but on the regular session where we made the motion, it was just strictly the motion.
It didn't get carried over is what you're saying.
No, sir. All the discussion that you're referring to, sir, was done on.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's what happened.
All right. Thank you. I rest my case then.
All righty. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of approval of the regular session minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
I've heard 2 so far. Okay, 3. Councilman Allen, are you?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's unanimous. Item 3B is approval of the workshop session minutes dated August 17th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none. We will move to item 4A, which is presentation of a proclamation honoring longtime resident and community leader, Mr. Richard D. Zupp Jr., for his accomplishments and dedicated service to the City of College Park Department of Recreation and Cultural Arts. And I will go ahead and read the proclamation. Give me one moment here. City of College Park proclamation honoring Richard D. Zupp Jr. Whereas Mr. Richard D. Zupp Jr., a College Park resident since 1949, is being honored posthumously by the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park as a distinguished and passionate community leader who worked tirelessly and unselfishly for the betterment of the community by volunteering countless hours to the College Park Department of Recreation and Cultural Arts. And whereas Mr. Zupp served in the United States Army from 1947 to 1953. Excuse me one moment here. Assigned to the HQ Company 4th Signal Battalion during the Korean War. He received the Army of Occupation Medal for the Korean conflict, the Occupation Medal in Japan, Korean Service Medal with a Bronze Service Star, and United Nations Service Medal, among other awards and decorations during his service to his country. He was also a member of the American Legion for 50 plus years. And whereas, after serving his country, Mr. Zupp became instrumental in the football, basketball, and baseball programs for the Recreation and Cultural Arts Department, where he coached numerous men, women, and youth athletic teams and organized various youth programs. Beginning in 1964, he served as chairman of the Recreation Advisory Board, and from 1969 to 1992, he served as chairman of the Youth Football Conference. Mr. Zupp also served on various boards, associations, and as Grand Marshal for College Park's annual Christmas parade. On July 11, 1992, Peter Pan Park was renamed Richard D. Zupp Park in his honor. Whereas Mr. Zupp was a member of the First United Methodist Church of College Park, where he donated his time and musical ability to the choir for many years. He also participated in the annual fish fry and many other events for the church. He was passionate about his family, his faith, his community, and his country. Whereas Mr. Zupp passed away on August 27, 2020, at the age of 90. He was preceded in death by his loving wife, who passed away in 2010. They had 3 children, Richard III, Sherry Lynn, and Clayton Wiley, and they have 6 beautiful grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park that Mr. Richard D. Zupp Jr. is posthumously recognized for his dedication and service to the community and youth, acknowledging the life and legacy of our faithful and longtime resident. He will be deeply missed by his family, friends, and colleagues. Proclaimed this 8th day of September, 2020. And I know that our Director of Recreation and Cultural Arts, Michelle Johnson, had a deep, long relationship with Mr. Zupp. And if you wanted to add anything, Michelle, at this time, feel free.
Mr. Zepp will be extremely missed, and my son's back here upset about him too. So, he was such a figure in the recreation department and known as Papa to all the kids. Without him and his support through the years, our recreation department wouldn't be what it is. So we want to thank his dedication to the time and dedication to the recreation department and his family. They grew up in there too. So and I know I have his daughter Sherry Huggins on if she wanted to say anything, but we just wanted to honor and recognize him and thank Mr. Zepp. And of course, our park's named after a beautiful park. So he will be missed, deeply missed, but had a long, wonderful life. But the community will miss his service he's given back to the recreation department.
Absolutely. Does his daughter want to add anything?
I would just like to say I've known him for 26 years, and just the only way to describe him is that he was just a beautiful person
I know.
in every way.
He was always there
Mm-hmm.
when we had any civic event, whether it be the parade or the fish fry or anything that he can participate in, the opening day of baseball. Totally devoted to the community. The community was his life.
Children. He absolutely adored the children that came through those doors.
I remember when I first met him.
16-year-old.
I remember when I first met him, and I realized it's like, this is Richard Zupp of Zupp Park, and he's just such a legend. And I was just so excited, and he was so warm and so kind, and just his eyes just glimmered, and he was just such a really, really sweet, wonderful person, and he will most definitely be missed.
He will. And his singing abilities will be missed throughout the church and throughout the community. Sherry, do you have anything you'd like to say about your father?
I just want to thank all of y'all. I'm completely humbled and hard to talk, but he was a great man. He even today while doing some work in my office, a piece of paper slipped down. I had been looking for a login and a password, and all of a sudden it slipped down, and it was exactly what I was looking for in his handwriting. So I know he's going to be helping me from up there, and he's going to be helping all y'all too. So just know he loved all y'all as much as y'all loved him.
Thank you so much.
Our hearts go out to
Thank
you and your
you.
family.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item on the agenda is remarks of citizens. Ms. Moore?
Yes, we have a few remarks. One moment, please. Okay, the first remark is from Ms. Marjorie Dent, and it reads, "This is my remarks for tonight's council meeting. My name is Marjorie Dent, and I live at 4021 Jesse A. Dent Jr. Road, College Park. I've been a resident of College Park for 45 years, and I have established a ministry in this city and was the pastor for 32 years. I would like to thank and acknowledge Councilman Roger Gay for a quick response to the request for adding lighting to prevent illegal activity in our community at Karen Road and Jesse A. Dent Jr. Road. I would also like to thank the Power Department for the quick response within a few days to get the lights up on Karen Road, and a special thanks to College Park Police for patrolling that area frequently. Marjorie A. Dent." Okay, and the next comment is from Stanley Muhammad, who also has 2 additional emails sent by Tariq Muhammad and Ruth Muhammad to yield their 3 minutes to him. And let me pull up the email. Start the timer. And it reads, "In the name of Allah God, the beneficent, the merciful. My name is Brother Stanley Muhammad. I'm a resident of Ward 4 here in College Park. I want to give a special thank you to Councilman Gay, his son, Brother Blake, and his entire family for supporting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's divine 4th of July message in Charles Phillips Park. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's message truly enlightened the audience of why Black Lives Matter. It was magnificent. It was a magnificent event. I would also like to thank Councilman Gay for supporting Project Torchlight this past weekend in Green Springs Apartments. We was blessed to give away 50 grocery bags to our poor and underprivileged College Park residents in the food desert area of Ward 4. Project Torchlight was also blessed to do the same approximately 1 month ago in Ward 1 in College View Apartments. We thank God for the help and support of Ms. Wilson in Ward 1. The true criteria for good government is the following biblical scriptures. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Matthew 25, verse 35 through 40. I pray that mayor and council will study and implement the above scriptures, which will guarantee the success of the city of College Park. Thank you. Okay, the next comment is from Miss Virginia Smith, and it reads, Virginia Smith, the Main Street Academy, 2861 Lakeshore Drive, College Park, Georgia, 30337. We understand from Councilman Gay that speed breakers are on tonight's agenda for the community near our school. We want to extend our support for speed breakers to be located on Lakeshore Drive near our school to support road safety and reduce speeding drivers. After one of our school resource officers was hit and injured this past school year during morning car line by an uninsured speeding driver, we feel this would be a great safety measure for all. Our officer has since recovered. We appreciate your consideration and continued support of TMSA. Thank you, Virginia Smith. Okay, the next comment is from Miss Jasmine J. And it reads, my name is Jasmine Hemp. My address is 2646 Brandon Road, 30337. I would like to thank Councilman Roger Gay and the College Park Police for trying to resolve an ongoing issue on Brandon Road. Thank you, Jasmine Hemp. The next message or comment is from Miss Coco Bright. And it reads, Coco Bright, 2623 Brandon Road, unruly neighbors. First of all, I would like to thank Councilman Gay and the College Park Police for their efforts in trying to maintain a quiet, respectable neighborhood on Brandon and Green Springs Road. It is clear that the neighbors on 2655 Brandon do not intend to adhere to the laws which governs us all regarding excessive noise. The young people are allowed to ride dirt bikes unlicensed up and down the streets day and night, which causes disturbance, discomfort, and annoyance of all normal residing area. The majority of our neighbors are 30 to 40 years in residence. In our time here, we have never had to endure such a blatant disregard to police warnings and even removal of one of the bikes. As soon as the police leave, they are back at it again. May we please have an update from our code enforcement supervisor, whom I believe spoke to their leasing agent. This neighborhood is apparently not for those occupants. Coco Bright. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 6A. It's update on the advanced metering infrastructure billing and interface and other related software. Mr. Richardson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our monthly update of our advanced meter and billing system. First page shows our access point performance for our electric meters, and they're continuing to do well. And you can see before August 19th, we picked up about 40 more meters. We had set, I think it was 30 plus at an apartment being renovated. So it picked those up pretty quick. next page shows our meter performance. That continues to improve. I won't go over all these numbers, but since this has been replacing the water meters, and the water department has done a good job on getting that done as we find them and replacing the endpoints and doing some repairs and resets. And the meter team has been sticking with this, and I've been meeting with them weekly at least. So I'm hoping we can get these manual reads down as close to zero as possible in the next couple months. And then the last page is our update on other updates. We have contacted 20 more customers for water leak alerts. I checked on the last month, we had 28, and looking at their history, it appears that they are repairing these leaks. So that is at least accomplishing that for them. And our kilowatt hour sales difference from the pandemic, go back one more, Javela. And you see August went in a different direction. If you look at the cooling degree days, though, this year is actually a cooler year, cooler summer than last. It's hard to believe. And August, I think, was about 11% cooling degree days less. So that's part of it. But then again, I think it's mostly commercial customers that are not using power. That's it. Any questions?
I just wanted to make a comment. I think this is an outstanding report. I was impressed when we got the number down below 100 water meters, and it just keeps going down. And it just proves that now that the staff is totally on board and we know the drill and we know what to do, I see no reason why we won't get these down to almost zero. And I say almost because there'll always be ones that fail in a given month. But the ones that have continued, we're getting them cleaned up.
All right. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Item 6B is discussion and update on recently adopted ordinances and resolutions. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Moore?
Not for me.
All right. Hearing none. I'm sorry. Is there?
Good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving on to item 6C, presentation on 6 West Development District plans focusing on implementation, including phase 1 infrastructure, costs, financing options, schedule, and next steps. I believe the bulk of this presentation is going to happen from Mr. Artie Jones III. Unless he can't unmute, and then he's going to let me talk about it, and he doesn't want that to happen. So
I've unmuted him, so
He's still muted.
I unmuted.
It's not showing that he's got a phone. That's not just mute. That's no phone. Is he dialed in?
He's talking away.
I know he's saying something great.
okay, let me, okay, I just sent him another message to unmute.
It's not there. Let's see.
There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Computer is still not working correctly, so I'm having to dial in. But on this evening, we're going to have the presentation on the 6 West District Plan. And on the panel with me to make this presentation will be Deanna Murphy of the Sizemore Group, Bill D. St. Aubin of the Sizemore Group, of course, Michelle Alexander, the city planner, she's available, and also Ed Wall, the financial advisor, will also be available to address any questions that you might have. Next slide. To give you a little bit of information about the site, this is a great site. It's close to Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, and it's in close vicinity to 285, 85, and I-20. At this time, I'm going to turn over this presentation to Bill D. St. Aubin to continue with the presentation.
Okay, thanks for allowing us to work on the district plans, and can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Next slide, please. So you can see the proximity that Artie was talking about. Great site, and it's starting to see a lot of interest. You know, there's hardly a better site in the world for some things. Next. So the project vision, you've heard this a few times as council members, but we like to repeat it. It's the mantra. It's a global destination rooted in diversity, equity, and inclusion, easily accessible to all, from local residents to world travelers, a showcase of smart cities and eco-friendly design. And if anything, that just becomes more and more important. We also have added an interest in how the plan will address the pandemics or any potential future pandemics. Next. Next slide, please. Yes, there. So in the district planning, we really dialed down. We got a lot more technical information on the topography, survey information, and began to look at each district. And there's a lot of complex things we are dealing with, and I want to go over a few of those. Really, we're trying to identify catalytic infrastructure and policy moves that will help move this project and, you know, towards the future in a good direction for the city. We came up with some innovative parking strategies. We developed the streetscape in more detail so we could price it. We developed a 6-acre green park so we can get costing for it. We've developed the cultural center to a level that we have a good feel for what it would cost at a certain size. And the 5K trail, we got into it much deeper. Our landscape architect and Woodward Academy and different experts collaborated to make sure it would meet all the needs. And then it also helped that we had the topography so we can really kind of test you know, where we had the path. And then Artie and the city council is to be commended. They brought in a really good golf course architect that helped us reshape the golf course as we were planning that area in some detail ourselves in that area, but having that expertise added to the team made a big difference. Next. So the district have stayed, the district boundaries have not changed in this phase. Things have changed within them. Part of that was for the parking strategy. It's good to mix uses, even though you may have office. We wanted to make sure there was some retail there to lower the parking demand because they work at different times of the week. But you have the golf course, College Park Golf Course District and Entertainment District up at the top in the light blue. Really premium sites that are getting a lot of interest and probably have for a long time along Camp Creek Parkway that creates the gateway to enter it. You have a robust office and partnering with Aerotropolis, there seems to be a lot of interest and activity in that. And then, of course, when I first came on board, you had the residential district already started and under contract. The retail district down at the bottom, which is kind of also the entertainment district, has a museum that's attracted some interest recently. And then probably what I really enjoy is this kind of transitional incremental district, which was really after listening to the council and the leadership wanting to do smaller size projects that the local community that any citizen could get involved in. So it's kind of that social equity side. And that's become really important as we go forward. The stars you'll see are projects that already have contracts. So you begin to see some movement. There's a hotel, the golf entertainment, the residential has been for a long time, and multiple interests is going on in the incremental district, especially as you get close to MARTA. Next slide, please. The 5K trail that started out in a conversation with President Stuart Gully and myself about what he needed in the area and if he needed a building or anything. And he said, well, my cross-country team needs a place to run. And then during that design charrette, that evolved and talking to everybody liked the idea of a loop so you can get out and exercise, especially, then the pandemic happened after that. Getting out in nature is one of the safest places, one of the healing places to be. So this became a major effort of the district planning. And it's really takes a lot of thoughtful design and dealing with the topography, putting it next to streams. Does it go under roads or over roads? There's a lot of long discussions about that, how to make it safe. And then even the surface of it, if you run cross country, you don't want to run on pavement. If you have a really active mountain bike community. So they had their, everybody had their take on what this should be. And we blended all that into a really dynamic asset that loops the whole thing for a 5K and accommodates multiple user types. I'm going to let Deanna, she really, her and her team at our office really poured their heart and soul into all the district planning, did some great 3D work, did some great coding, and most importantly to probably you all in your next step, they did some infrastructure cost estimating back and forth with department heads and a lot of different people. A lot of people were involved in these district plans. I really appreciate the collaboration and the nature of the team that you all set up. Great group of people to work with. It's been an honor. So Deanna, you can take it from here.
Great, thank you, Bill. Can everyone see my screen?
I forgot to turn my video on.
I'm sorry, can you all see my screen now? Just want to make sure the presentation's up. Okay, fantastic, thank you. Thank you, Bill and Artie. So I'm going to go briefly through the district plans update. It's a lot of information, so I'm going to try to go through it relatively quickly. And we're really excited to share this with you. So I'm going to start with the retail districts, which you can see highlighted here in red, really the heart of the community. The elements that really make the retail district unique are these destination amenities, large green space, a 6-acre park, the cultural center that Bill mentioned, that a music museum, cultural center for the community, a rock climbing wall attached to the existing parking or to a new parking deck to really draw people to the area. And while that's all on one side of the development, the other key component of this is Columbia Avenue, which really runs through the center of the development, through the heart of this district, but also connects you back to downtown. So making sure that we create a really walkable, friendly Columbia Avenue that opens up retail and restaurants to that streetscape. These are some images of what that may look like along Columbia Avenue and in that district. You can see a rock climbing wall in the upper left as part of a parking deck. Green space, food truck parks, a food hall, really just making this a unique destination. For each district, we have an architectural pattern book that we've included. And for the retail district, we really lean towards an industrial and kind of modern industrial appeal. And this came out of the community input that we received throughout this process. These were highly rated images that the community preferred. And we also see this in the market trend. So it's a really great combination of what the community wants and what the market will achieve. As I mentioned, the modern or futuristic appeal, the community was really interested in the overall development, having a historic roots in the industrial and historic architectural character, but that this is the future of College Park and this is really the future of the community. So incorporating some more modern touches as well. We also, for each district, worked closely with your zoning department to create standards for seeing this built in the way that it's been envisioned. And so you can see an example here for the retail district of the massing on the right and then the associated regulations. And really focused on creating those walkable, storefront friendly streetscapes. The Camp Creek District, which is appropriately situated along Camp Creek Parkway. This district is really about taking advantage of the traffic and visibility from Camp Creek, looking at uses that need that type of visibility. So very high quality 5-star hotels, restaurants that need the traffic that comes along the parkway. We do recognize that this is a front door to the community, so we want to make sure that that development is also regulated and appropriately developed for architectural character and style. You'll see a lot of green space in this district. We are dealing with floodplains and buffers from the stream that run through the district. So we are taking advantage of where we can develop to create a nice frontage, but still respecting and taking advantage of that natural amenity. Some imagery of the type of development we envision along Camp Creek, making sure that where we put in some of these more traffic-oriented uses like a Starbucks or a Chick-fil-A, that they still are front-facing, creating a really walkable and attractive front door. A great example of the type of hotels that we'd like to see in the development are right down the street, the Solis development, where you've got restaurants on the roof, where you can see the planes traveling through, a really high quality type of development. And again, these are the design regulations for the Camp Creek district. And I won't get into all of this, it's a lot to read. The incremental district, as Bill said, this is a really exciting district because it connects downtown to this development. And it really is about the community, about entrepreneurs, about local businesses being a part of this development and really creating the character here. And so you can see the size of the buildings, the size of the lots get a lot smaller as we go into the incremental district to really allow for smaller scale developments, smaller scale entrepreneurs to come to this site. A couple amenities that we have beyond creating Columbia Avenue is a really great walkable street. We are showing an art alley, which provides service and access to the buildings from the back side and into parking. But during the evening, on weekends, this could be closed off. Events could happen along here, festivals, really a place for the community to make their own. We're also looking at preserving several buildings in the incremental district. We want to make sure that the history of the site is still a part of this development. And while most of the houses and buildings have been removed, there are some that remain. For example, a local barber shop, the building still stands. And so keeping those buildings, allowing them to be reoccupied, allowing them to speak to the history of the site is really important to us. Some ideas of the character of the art alley. As you can see, being able to close it off for events. And then the architectural character of the incremental district. Again, the community was interested in the historical components, but also a modernist touch. So really incorporating a mix of architectural styles to give it a lot of character and style. Again, the zoning regulations here, as you can see, the buildings are a lot smaller, lots are a lot smaller, and so we're making sure that's regulated throughout the zoning. The office district is really about creating a unique headquarter type international office appeal. And so we wanted to take advantage of the great site that the office district has overlooking the golf course, access to Camp Creek, to roads, and obviously to MARTA. And so connecting the office district via those roadways and future transit to make it a really desirable location. We also were able to take advantage of parking decks, 2 rather large parking decks, but that gave us the opportunity to really open up the spaces in between buildings to make this a really green, amenity-driven type of development. And you can see the style here. Again, community really enjoyed the idea of industrial with a little bit more of a modern flair. The regulations for this district allow for larger buildings. This site also was ideal for the office district because it's further away from the airport. So we can take advantage of allowing for higher building heights because of the plane traffic and plane height restrictions. We could get that more international level tall building appropriate for the site. The Golf Entertainment District really centers around the existing historic golf course. As Bill mentioned, we were able to work with the golf consultant who looked at realigning some of the golf holes. So in this situation where we're showing the estates on the golf course and the clubhouse with event rentals, those two sites would remove 1 to 2 existing golf holes. And so we were able to realign the course so that we could make room for more residential, which is ideal to really balance residential and the mix of uses we have on the site, as well as enhancing the clubhouse, which was something that was important to the community through our community meetings, and drawing the event rental component. So if you wanted to have a family event, a wedding, you can have it at the clubhouse and on a lot of the green space in the area and be able to rent out cabins or homes along that green space to really make it an attractive destination. And you can see a golf entertainment component here, as well as a hotel and brewery, really drawing that entertainment together. And these are some images of the types of development we'd like to see there. You can see in the upper left is Barnsley Gardens, and that's the concept of having rentals near the clubhouse. And then the regulations for this, again, it's about larger entertainment facilities and hotel. So having larger lots, larger buildings, again, being further away from the airplane takeoff and landings, we're able to build a little higher in this area as well. So I'm going to jump into phase 1. This is what we'd like to see accomplished in the next 5 years. And so this is really focusing on the necessary infrastructure to attract the investment and development that we've been talking about. And so the 2 main roads that we're looking at development are Road Street, running north-south from Camp Creek Parkway, north into the site to the residential area. And then Columbia Avenue to Fairway, really connecting again downtown through the heart of the site back to the community off Washington. The other 2 infrastructure projects that we're recommending as part of priority for phase 1 is stormwater facilities underneath that 6-acre green space in the retail district. This will really allow for the stormwater needs to be met in the incremental district and a good portion of the retail district. So as smaller developers come in and smaller entrepreneurs come into that incremental district, they won't have to build stormwater on site. It will already be taken care of, making that process a lot simpler. Also looking at the reconfiguration of the golf course to allow for the estate development as well as the reconfiguration of the golf clubhouse. In terms of the infrastructure, as I mentioned, it's really looking at the streetscapes, and these were some of the images that were inspiration for us and that the community really seemed to prefer during our community engagement process. And you can see it really was focused on the pedestrian. In terms of the cost estimate, we were able to get into the overall cost of these developments, and so giving the city the ability to then look at funding and financing. And so for those priority projects, as I mentioned, Road Street, Columbia Avenue, the stormwater facilities at Landing Park, the golf course realignment or reconfiguration. And in addition, what I had not mentioned before was along with Road Street is the opportunity to look at a new bridge over Camp Creek, the offshoot of Camp Creek that runs underneath Road Street, building a new bridge to allow for the trail to pass under safely, and or improvements to that road. And we're looking at an overall fee for that first priority infrastructure of around $60 million. Additionally, if there are alternatives for phase one to consider, they would be the landing park component. So that's everything to enhance that park, the additional green space, playgrounds, restroom facilities, really addressing the needs for a landing park to make it a real destination. We have the cultural building listed as an add alternative, as well as that parking deck with the rock climbing wall. So the much bigger number is developing all of this and really looking at all the road infrastructure, the water piping to get to the areas, really just incorporating the 5K trail, everything that needs to happen in terms of infrastructure. And that overall number for the entire development is around $275 million. And the next few slides get into some of those specifics. As we mentioned, the stormwater facility on the green space, the 6-acre park. The above cost, the larger cost includes not only this stormwater facility, but also stormwater upgrades throughout the site. It includes the roads highlighted or streets highlighted here. We do have it broken down by district, so you can see that's color coded, including intersection enhancements both at Road Street and at Conley, where they meet Camp Creek. And lastly, it includes the water and sanitary sewer upgrades and connections throughout the site as diagrammed in this illustration here. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Artie.
Thank you, Deanna, and thank you, Bill, also. As you look at the chart in front of you, we call phasing estimates. It identifies exactly those particular projects that we have under contract and ones that are coming. As you are aware, we do have the residential project, the 56-acre project that is under contract to build 448 units of residential development. It is estimated that that particular development by itself would be in the neighborhood of between $160 million and $200 million for that particular development. Of course, residential 2, the golf course development, the 4 acres. That particular site, we're looking at $14 million in development there and 24 residential units. The golf entertainment component of that will cover approximately 15 acres. We're currently in negotiations on that particular project, and that will range in around $220 to $250 million in development. And then, of course, you heard about the hotel at the corner of Columbia Avenue and Road Street, which that particular project is under contract, and it's estimated to have a value of right about $41 million. Within the incremental development, we have several projects under contract, a couple of office buildings, and we are working on a restaurant and jazz club, getting that under contract. But that particular, the incremental development area, the area that actually attaches Main Street and the MARTA station to the retail and office district, is one of the hottest areas within the entire development. Of course, this particular area is has a smaller footprint buildings with smaller business owners. Next slide. This particular slide shows you at build out what the development would be worth. We have it estimated at $1.5 billion. And as you can see, those components within the development that have the biggest dollar value is the office at $700 million, and then the golf entertainment district, and then of course coming in third are the hotels at $210 million. Next slide. Within the 6 West development, there's a number of incentives that's available to end users and developers. The Federal Opportunity Zone covers approximately 2/3 of the site. It's basically just about all the property below the residential to Camp Creek Parkway. We have the State Opportunity Zone, which is a tax credit program where there's a $4,500 per job tax credit for each job created within this particular area, the 6 West development. Of course, this entire development is located within the tax allocation district that was set up in 2016. And we have, the Board of Education and also Fulton County participating with the City of College Park. And then of course, we have tax abatement, and that's a program that we've used throughout the city in public-private partnerships. We're working closely, the department heads for the City of College Park are working together to streamline permitting so that whenever developers actually approach us for developing, we'll be able to get them processed really quickly so that they can start on their development. Deanna talked about the regional detention pond, that the regional detention area, which is the 6th area landing park. This particular area will actually provide regional detention for the incremental district area. Also, Deanna talked about a number of the amenities. Probably one of the most popular is the 5K trail that actually goes all the way around the development. And then the site is actually entitled already. An entitlement process was completed back in August of this year. And then, of course, we have parking decks and parking structures. One thing that sometimes kills deals, especially when you have office buildings, is parking structures. They're very, very expensive. But we're looking at partnering with office developers in providing parking structures for their developments. That would also provide parking for the retail. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, the zoning has been, the DRI was completed back in June 2020. The entitlements are in place. The zoning was actually approved in August of 2020. The district plans, that's what we're presenting tonight. It's estimated that we would hopefully be able to adopt this district plan during this month or on this evening. And then, of course, we are working with various end users for various financing strategies to be able to finance the infrastructure for the development. Next slide. And that's it. We're, as I mentioned earlier, we're all available to address any questions that you might have. We have Michelle Alexander that's available, as well as Ed Wall, Deanna, Bill DeSaint-Alvin, and a number of other individuals that's available to address any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Councilman Clay?
I had most of my questions answered in advance. The one thing bothered me about the letter of transmittal was that there were a lot of department heads whose agreement or approval or whatever sign off was pending. And so one of the things I'd like to hear tonight, and I'd like the council to hear, is whether the department heads are comfortable with this, especially the ones that are saying pending on the letter of transmittal. I'll turn that one over to Terrence.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. And quite frankly, in the process of compiling the agenda transmittal, Party and various department directors actually convened last week to finalize and summarize accordingly. The basis for pending was simply the timing and compiling the agenda transmittal or the agenda packet so that a timely distribution can ensue. So the respective council, the respective staff meeting involving Artie Jones, department directors, and others actually took place on the morning of Wednesday, September 2nd. So the deadline for the agenda was a couple of days prior to that. So that's simply a function of timing. So during this discussion on Wednesday, September 2nd, during the 9 o'clock hour, the respective consensus and agreement, I believe, was achieved at that time. So the fact that it is pending in the document was simply a function of the timing of the distribution or the finalization of the agenda packet by the office of the city manager, which was distributed Thursday evening the following day.
Okay, so you're saying for the record, all your department heads agree?
I am saying that for the record, based on the meeting that took place on Wednesday, September 2nd,
Okay,
hosted by Artie, all the department directors coming together. And again, my office hosted the agenda review meeting Monday, August 31st, 2 days prior. So that's why it's simply a function of timing. But for the record, I offer that background.
okay. And Artie, you're comfortable. I can tell you're comfortable, right?
Yes, sir. I'm very comfortable, and it was I enjoyed working with the Sizemore group. They did a really great job, even in spite of COVID-19 and the juggling back and forth, and us all learning Zoom together. I think that we did a pretty good job, and the department heads, I believe, also enjoyed working with them.
I think it's just an outstanding piece of work. I had a few detailed questions, and they were minor questions. Outstanding.
I have a question. I just want to tell me a little bit more about the, excuse me, the Road Street Bridge. Is that a bridge that's going to have the trail underneath of it, or are there 2 or 3 options, or what's going on with the Road Street Bridge?
I'll let Deanna and Bill respond back to that.
Yeah,
I had the same question.
It's a really good.
I think there's some options.
Really good question, and it's something that I got my career started working for civil engineers. I won't tell you how long ago. So grading is really important, and the elevations to make something walkable is very important. And since the belt line's been built, and since I've been cycling all over the place, the separation of paths and roads is important. So I've been after this issue for a while, since the beginning, and just to see how it would work out. And what you have, the short answer, I won't go on too long. It's a bridge so you can ride underneath it, but it's a bridge that's opened up, like if you're on the belt line somewhere and there's a lot of daylight underneath. It's not a tunnel, that you're going through, which is an economical way. When I ride the Silver Comet, they have tunnels that you can ride through. This is literally a bridge that goes across, which it serves a couple of functions. One, it helps, of course, the cyclists go without having to come, or a pedestrian without having to come back up on the road. And if you think about that handicap accessibility and stuff, that could be a long, cantankerous ramp to get them back up to the road, to then go across it, to then get back on the trail.
Oh yeah, I'm a bicyclist, and that's why I was asking the question.
Yeah, I'm glad it's a good question. So you would catch that kind of right away. So the other thing, though, we looked, it's pretty hilly in that area, and I was worried about pedestrian connectivity when we get to the back end of the site, because you don't want to have any grades where you're trying to park cars and have pedestrians much bigger than 5%. And it gets complicated when you're trying to connect the whole site and make it pedestrian. This is not a flat, this is Georgia, it's not a flat site. And really, it turned out relatively well, pretty flat, except for the intersection of the 2 main roads we're putting together. And there's a good 12-foot issue, and putting a bridge in there helped mitigate that, so that it's an easier entrance in. And yes, we could have saved money, but I kept looking at, we could have put just a culvert there or left the culvert there. You would have had this big dip, and it just didn't seem like the right thing to do if you're doing a $1.5 billion project. I just thought we ought to do it right. So we went back and forth a lot, and that's where it ended up. But it is, you don't have to do it. It's your plan, but that's why it is the way it is in our plan, and that's what we budgeted. We do have alternatives. We could tell you what it would cost not to do it, and the pros and cons of that.
Well, one of your alternatives was a tunnel, as I recall.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't high on either.
Yeah.
The tunnels leak, and you have water and everything. I like I like the bridge part. I just don't like the number.
Yeah.
But hey, if we're going to do this, we need to do it right, and it'll be much safer. Traffic, won't slow down for people and everything else. So I'm good with it.
All
Yeah,
right.
you
Any
want-
other? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you just want to feel safe on those trails too. So I
Yes.
mean, having the bridge is actually a more daylit kind of environment.
Amen.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Mr. Moore, are we moving to adopt this tonight, or is this just informational?
It's an informational presentation.
Okay.
Something
All
like
right.
this normally would take place in workshop meeting, but we wanted to focus on the strategic plan. So this is an opportunity for general consensus of anything, but in terms of formal adoption of the plan, that's something that can be taken into account as well.
Okay. All righty then. So if there aren't any other questions, we will continue to move on. Thank you so much for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
You guys.
All right. So we would move forward, but we need to move back a little bit because I believe there is one more public comment that was not read. And so we need to make sure that that gets acknowledged. So Ms. Moore.
This is from Stephen Muhammad, and it reads, Councilman Roger Gay, Representative 4th Ward, College Park, Georgia, 30337. Greetings. I would like to thank you, Councilman Gay, for your great work with the census count for 2020. It was an outstanding effort that you and your children hosted on Saturday, August 29th. Meals were delivered and everyone observed all the rules and regulations of COVID-19 by wearing masks and social distancing. Your labor of love was unparalleled to the census work that we participated in for the city of Atlanta. The citizens of the 4th Ward all know and love you and your family. We appreciate you for being there with you. We appreciate being there with you in your service to the community. Please continue to keep up the good work. Stephen Muhammad, Independent Candidate, Georgia, U.S. 5th Congressional District.
All right. Thank you very much. So we don't have any public hearings this evening. So we're moving on to item 8A, which is consideration of an action on a request for approval of a power sales contract between the City of College Park and ATL Data Centers, LLC.
Yes, I've been working on this for several weeks. It's an opportunity for us to sell our excess power and opportunity for our largest customer to expand. But I did have a conference call today with MEAG Power representatives to get some more assurance on what is our actual excess power and what would our market rate be should we have to purchase more power, which will be the case if this customer expands like they want. So after that conversation, I am recommending tonight that we postpone this contract at least for 2 weeks until I get some more assurance to bring it back later.
All right. So do we need you're just going to table this one, I suppose, for 2 weeks?
I'll move to table
I second.
Till the September 21st
to
meeting?
the next council meeting, which is on the, what,
21st.
21st.
Okay. And there's a second from Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Hearing none, that's unanimous. So we'll just take that up on the 21st. And item 8B has already been tabled. 8C is consideration of an action on a request for approval to purchase and install speed cushions along Herschel Road and Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah, I have only one comment on there. The cover letter talks about Herschel Road and Lakeshore Drive, but following some question as to why the quantity of pads that we're ordering, I think they're also going to be installed on, I don't remember the other road. Is that correct, Chief?
Yeah, so we looked at also Janus. We're getting a lot of traffic on Janus and complaints with speeding on Janus there in the school zone. So we think 3 speed humps or speed cushions on Lakeshore should be sufficient to slow the traffic down there. And then one on each side of Lake Shore, each direction across Janus, should help slow traffic down in the immediate school zone there.
And we've got what, 2 locations on Herschel Road?
Herschel Road, we're gonna, from all the way from Camp Creek down to Roosevelt Highway or to Old National, we're looking at a total of 6 there.
Okay, 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I move to approve.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on one sec. Wait, I think there was somebody else who was starting to ask a question. Was it Councilman Allen? Did I hear you?
I had a quick question just about where it's going to be located on Lakeshore. You already have one speed on Lakeshore. Where are these going to be located?
The one on Lakeshore now is currently right around Linda Drive.
Right.
We were looking at probably between Alexandria and Fredericksburg, and then further up just west of York Road, just before, as you're getting closer to the driveway into the school.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Now I'll take a motion.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 9A is consideration to support the College Park Main Street Association to create a larger outdoor dining atmosphere, basically parklets, from Princeton Avenue to Yale Avenue in collaboration with business owners.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Renee Coakley, the Main Street Manager. Back in June, we, College Park Main Street Association, made a presentation to you all in regards to parklets. And tonight we wanted to give you an update of some exciting things we've done since we made that presentation. And I have on the line Vice Chair Grace Lunsford, who is going to just give us some heavy points for us and then move forward from there. So Grace, if you're available.
I am, thank you. And thank you, Mayor and Council, for your consideration of college parklets. This is an idea we did bring to you in June, and since June, it has gained a tremendous groundswell, not only in College Park, but also statewide and nationwide. So it's been a very exciting project to be considering. Before I continue on with this slide, are we okay to do that? Moving forward to the next, that's only 8 slides. I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay, let's just remember again, this is all about creating safety, business opportunities, nurturing our community, and also aligning with the forward vision and forward focus, which we have already seen, which is very, very exciting, by the way. So Renee, let's just go on to that next one.
Okay.
We have 2 options, which we brought to you. And tonight we'd really like you to consider the larger option because we really feel like we are moving this way. We have created a no curb environment. We've talked with GDOT, which has also come on board with this, and I'm going to get to that in a bit. But one of the things that GDOT was really excited about was that this parklet has the potential and also has demonstrated in other parklets in other cities the acquisition of more safety in the area, including lowering speeds. So that's just a future goal that we are still committed to with parklets. And let's go to the next one. Again, the College Park Main Street Association has really committed to this because it is a business opportunity to get us back to work, especially in this time of COVID, and improve our downtown by giving it a whole new look and feel, expanding that pedestrian focus that our community has wanted to see. And we believe that this parklet will make the difference. So GDOT partnership is something that Mayor and Council, you asked for us. Community support and a forward vision. And then also Mayor Motley Broom's question, where do we find the money? Which is such a good question. Well, we have moved forward and started to find that money. If you have been paying attention on social media at all, you've seen it. But also, if you've been paying attention to the news, you will have seen that even here in our state, multiple cities are doing this. These are just a couple examples. Savannah, Flowery Branch, Augusta, and Forsyth City. And as you can see, also Virginia Highland has a parklet too, which actually only includes 2 spaces at a cost of $48,000. Which is interesting. And then also National Main Street Association made a call for parklets nationwide. You'll notice the Savannah one is very temporary, not appropriate for what we are going after. For Flowery Branch is the one that is constructed out of wood right there. And some of the community members got together with funding from the city and put this together. While it is attractive and does the job really quickly, that's not going to be a long-lasting solution. And in our research, since we've discussed this in June, we have come across very interesting companies that create these modular components as parklets have become, you know, kind of an international success. And so we found some materials that we are very interested in because of its long-lasting durability, its sophisticated look that we feel our downtown deserves, and also ease of maintenance. For example, Flowery Branch, if something goes wrong under there, somebody drops their wedding ring or an animal crawls under and dies, that's going to be very difficult to kind of take apart and get to. And these modular concepts are literally made to be able to check in under and have maintenance or deal with any storm drainage issues or animals or missing wedding rings. Moving on. So we did meet with GDOT, and they were very excited. We had a full meeting with several engineers, and one of them was actually in San Francisco quarantining. And he said in the like half-mile radius that he was in, there were 8 parklets. So again, he was very jazzed to see that this was coming to College Park and in his backyard. Catherine Zahul did submit a letter of support, which all of you should have in your materials that were submitted. And also, as we've been moving forward, Jack Aninos, who was the gentleman I mentioned earlier, is working with Randy Zayek and the whole board to make sure that our design fits with GDOT's pedestrian standards. He is the State Bicycle and Pedestrian Coordinator. Also, we did talk about a rerouting of the sidewalk in the June meeting. This and GDOT is very interested in maintaining sidewalks the way they are. They're interested in going back to the normal. And I think it's also a simpler design and plan. So moving forward. Main Street Matters. Thank you. Some of the council and mayor, you were there at our very first Main Street Matters, which was the beginning of communicating what is happening in our downtown to the community and participating in having that discussion. At the end of our Main Street Matters, we pitched a crowd fund, and we did this exactly 1 week ago tonight. So it's been a little bit of a run. Renee and I feel like we've been in the marathon, maybe even a sprint. It's just been a week. Crowd funds normally go much longer, but I was super encouraged and super excited to say that we have raised close to $30,000 between online donations and some in-kind giving and checks that we know are waiting in the wings and coming in. So that's really, really great. Our community is putting their money where their house is. And then Randy Zayek, by the way, is a local and also an architect, and he has been talking with these companies and collaborating with the board to help us put together the right vision for this. Again, I mentioned the modular options. It's the way we want to go. And so with that, and when we continue to move on, let's go to the next slide. This was that original concept, and I'll just stay on this slide for a second because as a reminder, Milk and Honey and Virgil's are committed to this parklet. They are very eager and excited for outdoor dining. If you have walked over there, you have noticed that it's already kind of happening on the sidewalk and alleyway as people are are loving those restaurants and supporting them during this time. But it means that there's a lot of people outside waiting for takeout. So people are standing in between cars. And this led us to also say we should really go for all 7 spaces, because not only would it be great for the outdoor dining component to be there, but to make sure that there's also a dedicated general public gathering area. So it's not just for the restaurants, it's potentially for all the businesses there, including Forum, which is the co-working space above. And we'll keep moving on. So there are a couple of things. This is really the ask now. We're getting to that, but I just wanted to point out all 7 spaces would be covered from the Harvard build out sidewalk all the way to the Midway bump out. That is the pedestrian alley you can see there. I apologize for it not being a larger view, but the hashes are the spacing of the structure. The structure actually goes 6 feet by 10 feet in sections. And then there are corner build outs, which have been interestingly tricky because it doesn't quite fit into the kit, and therefore it kind of ups the prices in some ways. But this budgetary option is $55,000. And that includes planters, and that includes providing an outdoor space for the general public, as well as that guided dining area. $10,000 was committed by College Park Main Street Association back when we were talking with you in June about this. We have raised, I've actually raised more than that from the community crowd fund, putting us close to the 30,000 number, and hopefully that we can get some from the city. So we'll go on to the next, which is the final ask. And we would really like to move forward with our option B. So we are asking for approval to cover all 7 parking spaces between you can go to that last one, the pedestrian alley and Harvard. We're also requesting an alcohol ordinance to ensure our established restaurants can serve legally outside their premise. Request that the city meet the request that Catherine put forth in her letter from GDOT, namely the indemnity and maintenance agreements, which the city already has with GDOT because you already maintain the sidewalk. This is an extension. Additionally, provide Public Works to receive and assist in the installation of these materials. They would be coming as a bulk freight. But we want to bring in skilled community volunteers too, to not put too much pressure on Public Works, because there's a lot of people who really want to help build this out. And also we are asking the city of College Park to step forward and match this and bring in $25,000 to fully fund our budgetary goal of College Parklets. And so now I will open it up to questions.
All right. Thank you very much. I know Councilman Clay, I think you and I talked a little earlier, and I think you have at least one question.
I had several. Most of them were answered satisfactorily. The one area that I was concerned about was and routing the sidewalk on the outside of the parklets. And I understand why it's unattractive, and I understand that it's difficult, but my concerns are several. First off, you've got people who are dining right next to the road, separated by maybe a planter or a buffer or railing or what have you. Whereas people on the sidewalk would be more aware of oncoming traffic and possibly some impending issue. A second thing is, if the parklets were next to the building as opposed to separated from it, you could associate a particular parklet with a particular restaurant. Now, I'm pretty well content. I've even contributed a small amount personally to this, so I've got skin in the game here anyhow. So I'm pretty well content to say, okay, I'll go along with the idea of the sidewalk cutting right through the traffic between the restaurant and the parklet. But that means we're going to have to deal with, when we talk about alcohol ordinance and so forth, it means we're going to have to deal with wait staff trafficking between the parklet across from the restaurant to bring food, bring beverages. We're also going to have to deal with, well, what if some random person comes down and sits in a parklet area that's assigned to a restaurant? How do we handle that? If it were connected to the restaurant, which I agree, we're not going to do that. But if it were, and there were a railing around it, it would be clear that that was associated with the restaurant. And you could be asked to not sit down there unless you were going to partake in the fare of the restaurant. So we need to think about, in fact, I'm all for approving it tonight, but we need to think about how we're going to manage the assignment of spaces to a particular restaurant. And if we do all 7 and we don't have all restaurants along there, could Virgil serve somebody way down at the end by the depot? Would you know, what would be, how would we administer this? And I'm not saying we shouldn't go ahead and do it, and I'm not saying we shouldn't start on it, because I would like to bring as much assistance to our restaurants as possible, given our current social distancing situation. But in parallel with this, we need to figure out how we're going to handle those issues.
Sure. Well, I'll answer 2 quick things. And, you know, one of the first hesitations that you guys had back in June was GDOT. And so again, that sidewalk thing is a no-go, mostly because of GDOT.
Right. Yeah, we understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there is a 2-foot space that the parklet will be in away from the road as well. So it's not going to really be right up against it. It'll be in just a bit. So those sidewalk abutments on either side will still extend further than the parklet itself. So
would GDOT allow us then to at least put candlesticks in there?
Yes, in fact, they would be.
I'm not talking about concrete bollards or metal bollards, but candlesticks to.
Yeah, with the reflective at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a safety precaution, they're all for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And we have actually seen some of that in our parklet research examples. It's a good move. It's interesting. There's a historical precedent for the sidewalk cafe, right?
Sure.
So, you know, Miami Beach, Paris.
Let me jump in here. I've been all over Europe and everywhere with Delta, and these are everywhere. A lot of times, in fact, more than not, the waiters do walk across the sidewalks and serve them. They have little sections where they block them off, and if somebody comes and sits down, the waiter just comes up and politely, you know, tells them that it is for, you know, service there, and people move. They're great. I love them. I think once you do this, I think you're going to be starting an awful lot. The only thing I have is I see you say in here that it's from Princeton to Yale. Do you plan to go all the way down to Yale?
No, it's actually from the pedestrian alley to Harvard.
To Harvard.
But I think it's a great idea. I think we ought to do them all. I think it's something that we can do to help the restaurants. I think it's something that we can do to bring people to sit outside in College Park and have a beer or have a glass of wine or just sit down and have something, snack to eat and talk with your neighbor. I think it's just a great idea. And again, I thank you all very much. And like Ambrose, I got some skin in the game too. So.
Very good.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I have a comment. I've also lived here 30 years, so I've been up and down Main Street quite a bit myself. But my question is, I support it as well, but my comment is the parking space across the street in front of the railroad tracks that is public parking. My only question is, one, Have we ever considered that being a parklet to keep the parking spaces open? And two, we made a huge investment in the alley. I thought that that was going to grow into a outdoor sitting space.
Well, the alley investment is actually an alley that is not directly behind where this parklet is going to be. Just FYI. I love the idea of finding other places to explore parklets. We are definitely calling this a pilot project just to see how it goes and how the community adapts it, how the restaurants serve. But it could definitely be something that is continued in other places.
All right, any other questions? All right, I've got a couple. Mr. Moore, where does the money come from?
Yes, ma'am. This will be a first quarter budget adjustment, and it's not possible for either the Office of the City Manager or the Department of Finance and Accounting to identify specifically savings in which that can be achieved. That typically will not happen until mid-year or the third quarter at best. Likewise, a $25,000 allocation would be a fund balance adjustment. That's where it will come from, ladies and gentlemen.
It's coming from the general fund. Okay.
General fund balance specifically. Yes, ma'am.
Understood. My second question is in regard to accessibility for those who may have limited mobility on the sidewalk. How is that generally addressed with parklets, and how would you envision that happening here? Because certainly I would anticipate if the parklets are happening, we're going to get more people and more activity in those areas, but we certainly want to maintain a level of accessibility for everyone.
If I can address that. So right at the entrance of where the pedestrian alley in the corner of the Real Milk and Honey is, there is a accessibility ramp right there for wheelchairs, which will not be covered, and as well as at the end of the corner of Main and Harvard. So neither one of those spaces will be tapped into by adding a parklet. So we would still have the ADA accessibility at both ends.
Understood.
Additionally, one of the reasons why we are interested in these other companies with the modular ones is they create a very clean, level surface.
I guess I'm just more concerned with the amount of increased traffic we might see on the sidewalk itself, thereby creating potential issues for people who say may be in a wheelchair, et cetera.
Sure. Well, if I may, right now you have cars that bump right up into the sidewalk, sometimes coming in, stretching into the sidewalk space, which can make that sidewalk feel very narrow. If anything, this parklet will open up all of that space. And so people should have more room to make room for those who need it.
I like that answer.
Good.
Makes sense. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? All right. Is there a motion?
I'm going to move that we approve an allocation of not more than $25,000 from the general fund if necessary. And the reason I say not more than is because I'm hoping that the crowdfunding is going to bring in even more money. But I'm looking for the crowdfunding to reduce the amount of $25,000 rather than instead saying, well, let's add on more bells and whistles and what have you. That can always come later. But as part of this motion, 25,000 max, let's see if we can make it smaller.
Is there a second? Is there
alcohol?
And that we approve an alcohol, the modification to the alcohol license to accommodate it.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion?
Well, I just want to be clear.
Nope. Sorry, Grace. Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Motion passes. Grace, I'm sorry, Ms. Lunsford, is the crowdfunding still going on?
Well, technically it ended at 7 p.m. tonight. However, if we want to extend it a week with the full approval from the board and from mayor and council, which we now have, I think that is definitely something that we can do. There were a lot of people who were like, I'd like to give, but is this really going to happen? So to answer your question, it is over, but it can be extended.
I think it'd be a great idea to extend it, and that makes my $25,000 motion even smaller.
And the thing that
I'm just worried about counting our pennies, everyone.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it gives me all the queasy feels to dip into the fund balance.
Well, it's good to feel all the feels.
No, queasy. I love the project. Going into fund balance makes me queasy.
More alcohol tax.
Good point.
There you go.
Good point.
Yes, I can.
All right.
So I just want to make sure that in that motion, all of these asks have been included in it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted clarification on that because I'm still new to this. Thank you.
All right. We're done here. We're moving forward.
Great.
Thank you so much, ladies. Appreciate all of your time and your effort and your dedication to this project.
It's going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we are moving on to item 9B, which would be approval of the strategic plan. Which was added. That was an amendment, so it's not on your agenda.
Right. I will move to approve the strategic plan as was discussed in the work session.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That was unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. And moving on to item 10A, discussion of proposed millage rate and approval of recommended rate for advertisement for fiscal year 2020 to 2021.
Madam Mayor, I'll go ahead and take this. And this is per direction as offered during the proposed budget process that was finalized June 15, 2020. And we are in position to initiate the necessary advertisement process for final adoption of the millage rate as noted by October 19, 2020. So the interest to proceed this evening is so that we can go ahead and accomplish the necessary legal advertisement requirements as outlined in the agenda transmittal.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Terrence, am I correct in saying that the millage rate on a homeowner is not increasing? It's the same millage rate that we have had for the last several years.
That is exactly correct, Councilman Clay. So the millage rate, as noted to that effect, 12.619 mils. Yes, sir.
That does not mean that a homeowner's tax won't go up if the property value went up, but we have not changed the millage rate despite the COVID issues that have impacted our budgeting process.
That is absolutely correct, sir.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none. Is there a motion?
So moved to approve going forward with this advertisement.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I believe that was all four. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 10B is consideration of an action on a request for approval of specific events hosted by the College Park Department of Recreation and Cultural Arts. Dates for approval are for Light Up College Park, Monday, November 30th, 2020, and the annual Christmas parade Saturday, December 5th, 2020, with a rain date set for Saturday, December 12th, 2020. Does anybody have any questions about this one? Not hearing any questions. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
All right. Is there a second? There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Mr. Denmark, do you have anything on our city attorney's report?
Nothing this evening, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moore, your report?
Other than the top 10 delinquent property taxpayers and that for utility customer accounts, nothing further. Likewise, representatives from the Department of Finance and Accounting and the Customer Service section are in position to address any specific questions or concerns you might have.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
Not for me.
All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to a report of mayor and council. We'll start with Councilman Gay this evening.
Well, good evening, all, and thank you again for a great council meeting. I have one issue that I want to discuss. There was a fire in the 20 Camp Creek Apartments. I think it's 20, not sure, it may be 2900, 2800. But the point is, what was it? Someone say something?
I believe it was 2,900.
2,900. Okay, great. But the point is, I just
2,800.
Oh,
2,800. I just happened to overhear a resident talk about they had been displaced and they didn't have any clothes. And the resident was at the Lakemont Apartments as we were putting out flyers to get people to come to the COVID event. But anyways, when I learned of it, I had a conversation about displacing the entire residence next door to another apartment complex where space was available. Well, long story short, that didn't work out so well. And those residents of no fault of their own were put out of their apartments. And I know government can't be involved in all matters, but I feel that when properties are damaged because of code violations, I just think that we should take a more hands-on approach to ensuring that those families are getting some kind of help. That's all I have.
all right. Councilman Allen?
First of all, I'd just like to, when we talked about the strategic plan and the dedication that we have to from all of our workers, I just have to keep thinking to myself sometimes that mayor and council, we're all elected officials and we need to lead by example. And I'm talking about myself. We need to lead by example and always follow the rules. So that came to my mind when we were talking about the performance measures. So I just wanted to bring that up. But census, we don't have much time left. We need to fill out the census if you haven't done it. Thanks to Sheltie Gardens and the Life of Harrington Park. And I think Councilman Taylor has another one that's going to start this weekend. Renee and Grace, thank you all very much for putting in the work and getting citizens involved in the Main Street Matters program. But I think I remember, and I wasn't on council then, but I think I remember that SunTrust Bank used to give the citizens or give the community money every year to use in the community. It wasn't much, but about $2,000 or $3,000. It seems I can remember that. I wasn't, if some of you, some of the folks that were here for a while, maybe you remember it. And I just wonder if they're still doing that. I just remembered that a few years back, they did that. So hopefully they'll do that again. And if they did, that would be a good thing that you could put on the parklets. And that's all I got.
To that.
That's a good idea. All right. So Councilman Taylor?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody individually and collectively that's going out doing the Census 2020 count. We all got to do our part. You know, we one city. It ain't different wards. We all one city. And I just want to thank all the people that's participating in the 2020 census count. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Clay?
I guess most of all, I'd like to thank Renee and particularly Grace for driving the parklet issue, not just so much for the parklets themselves, but for the spirit of community that the crowdfunding has created, the excitement. Despite COVID, things are really amazing right now. I think. We have an energy level. We have projects coming to fruition that we've been building up for years, and it's actually happening. So I know some people have talked to me over the years about Main Street and how it used to be a vital portion of College Park, a lot of things going on. And now we see all these improvements coming along. Things are happening on Virginia. We have the new medical facility, all the things that were talked about in Main Street Matters. It is just amazing. And I know it's kind of gloomy with the COVID-19 and some of the political issues that we have right now, but there is a bright spot in College Park with everything that's going on. That's all I wanted to say.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I wanted to echo all the comments about the census. We have until September 30th. Here's your chance to do your part to build the community that we deserve. I was at Life at Harrington on Saturday, ran into a wonderful gentleman who has a small business here in College Park, and he asked me, is College Park doing anything to help assist businesses during this time? And I said, we're still working with Fulton County to get any amount of money through the CARES Act. And I'll talk a little bit about what we have received, but talk to Fulton County about it. But I do need you to fill out your census. And then he went over to the census enumerator who was there at the event, and he said he didn't feel comfortable giving out the information. And I said, where do you think the money comes from? We don't print it here in College Park. We get money that we're able to assist people with, and so does Fulton County. We get it from the federal government. And it is so important that our people are counted. Everything that we're going to be doing for the next 10 years, all of the great projects that you heard about happening at 6 West, who we get to show up there and plant stakes and help our community thrive. It's going to matter how many people are here. So you now have 22 days to complete your census. Go to 2020census.gov and make sure that you and all the people in your home are counted. I want to thank the Census Committee, the Complete Count Committee, headed up by our City Clerk, Shavela Moore. She has done an outstanding job at getting us to the finish line. I also want to thank our Census Coordinator, Alex Lima, for all of his assistance and his advice and his guidance as we have worked as a committee to try to boost our numbers in College Park and raise awareness about the census. The one thing that we have gotten from Fulton County through Community Development Block Grant funds is utility assistance for our residents, our Fulton County residents. Clayton County residents, we have some more information for you, but for Fulton County residents, you can get assistance of up to $1,500 if you are in arrears on your utilities. So we have that available right now. You can go to our website, collegeparkga.com, and download an application, or you can drop it off at City Hall. So take advantage of that. There are some income requirements and you have to provide information, but the money is there until it's not. So first come, first served. And also Chief Williford, I say chief, and that could be one of two chiefs. But do citizens still have the opportunity to sign up for the Police Academy?
Absolutely.
All right.
October 15th is the first day.
All right. And here's your opportunity to learn more about how our public safety does its job. It is a combined effort of the police department and the fire department. And we're really excited about kicking this off again because it gives our citizens an inside look at how some of our best folks do their job. And you will learn more about every aspect of both departments in this course. And it's going to be meeting on Thursdays for, is it 8 weeks or 10 weeks, Chief? I'm sorry.
8 weeks.
8 weeks. All right. And so if you're interested in signing up, that information is also on our website at collegeparkga.com. So I just want to thank everyone for their continued persistence and their continued efforts as we navigate this new normal. Certainly, I don't know that any of us thought that we were going to be here in September with COVID still looming in the way that it does, but I think Councilman Clay is absolutely right. Despite all of our challenges, we are still moving forward as a community, and that's because of all of you. And so I'm grateful for that. And with that, I think we need to go back into executive session. So I will take a motion.
So move to go
All
back into executive session for real estate, personnel, and litigation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's unanimous. Gentlemen, I'll see you over at the other link shortly, and we will be back here to conclude the meeting in a little bit. Thank you.